Hi everyone, Sandman here. Today's video is brought to you by a donation from Tim Patton, the author of Why I Cheat. And you can check out his book on my YouTube channel, and it's the first book that I ever reviewed. But with regards to this video, Tim didn't actually give me a topic that he wants me to talk about, so I've decided to discuss a comment that one of my regular female viewers sent me a while ago. Her name is Larissa Douglas, and here's what she has to say. Hello Sandman, I think you should do a quick video encouraging men to ignore women, and to get men to post in your comment section the reactions of women that are being ignored. I've seen men in Manhattan ignore women, and the women give them dirty looks, and basically find something wrong with the man, or other males in general. I've also seen very good-looking guys ignore women, and the women get highly upset that a good-looking male doesn't notice them. Take care from Larissa. Well, Larissa, I find it rather ironic that you, a woman, is actually telling men to ignore other women. No offense, but by saying what you just did, it actually sounds like you're attempting to differentiate yourself from all the other women out there that get upset that they're being ignored. And have you ever actually stopped to ask yourself how you feel when a man just ignores you? You're also telling us men to ignore women and then write about it. By simply making this video, some men out there will actually see your request as an attempt to manipulate me. Larissa, perhaps you're a woman that doesn't like being ignored, so you're convincing me to make a video about how women hate being ignored to give yourself attention. I just find it ironic that you tell men to ignore women, but you, a woman, wants me, the man, to pay attention to you. And now I'll stop beating the dead horse and get on with the topic. I just want to know if you're aware of what you are actually asking for, either consciously or subconsciously. And I'd appreciate a bit of honesty, so please give me an answer in the comment section below when you're ready. Anyways, I've spoken about how when I ignored women in the past, they always had to come up with a reason why I wasn't interested in them. I even spoke about a woman that was so desperate to know that she actually brought a Playboy magazine to class and started to ask me if I found women in the magazine hot, to see if the reason I was rejecting her was either because I wasn't interested in her or because I was gay. She needed to know badly why I was ignoring her. But that was only one case. I think that most women actually enjoy being ignored by men to a certain point. Women often complain that their boyfriends and potential lovers don't give them a call on their phones or send them enough text messages. But in reality, if a guy ignores a woman, then he's on her mind because she can't help but thinking to herself, why isn't this guy that I like calling me back? Is there something wrong with me? Do I have bad body odor, or am I just ugly? Such is life when your self-esteem is dependent on the approval of others, which is pretty much every single woman. And that's one reason why we as men are lucky. Because if we do a good job at something, we don't need anyone else telling us that the job was well done. Instead, we can recognize the results right away. But for a woman, she not only has to do a good job, but she also has to receive a reward for it. And has anyone else noticed the rise of trophies over work over the last 20 years? When I worked in finance, I would always win prizes like tickets to sporting events, stuff from my desk, as well as engraved glass plaques. And the older I got, the more of this stuff I would get. But at the same time, I didn't get as many useless trophies while I was playing sports while growing up. And most men don't care about trophies. It's usually women that put them on their desks and smile the most when they receive them. I've done photography at award shows where they basically gave out such plaques, and they were a pain to photograph because they would always reflect the light from my flash units. So I always had to tell people to tilt them down so my cameras could actually see what it said on them. Trophies like that tell women that their employers aren't ignoring them, but actually honoring them. And I think that such corny things are connected to women entering the workplace and wanting to be valued and not ignored. I also recently did a video where I told guys to just ignore women. Work on yourselves, and the women will just show up once you've done enough physical, emotional, and mental work on yourself. And it's funny, Larissa, that you tell men to ignore women, but what you should be doing is telling certain types of men to ignore women instead. If a man that doesn't get much female attention anyways ignores women in general, then that won't really make a difference. But instead, if a wealthy and handsome man ignores them, then he will represent at least 5 to 10 ordinary guys ignoring all women. Most men going their own way are already ignoring women, or at least ignoring the women that treat us badly. So Larissa, you're already preaching to the choir. We're already ignoring them. And it's funny that you mentioned that when you notice that when a highly attractive man ignores a woman, she tends to get really pissed off. That's yet another reason why men should basically work on himself and make himself the ultimate catch, and then hang around and torment women by standing near them but completely ignoring them. I think one of the best ways to fight gynocentrism is to lower women's self-esteem so that women become humble once again. I think most women these days are so full of themselves that they need to be ignored by wealthy, good-looking, and successful guys. And that's probably the best lesson that they can receive on humility. I think that if more women saw themselves as more than just sex objects for men, then they would actually try and cultivate other qualities. And some of them would actually put on the appearance of being respectful and nice. And I know that you ladies out there want to get away with as much as you can, and you want to maximize the utility that you can get from us men. But we, the utility objects, are leaving and going on strike. And just because you can't maximize our utility because of your terrible attitude isn't our fault. And if we aren't interested in you, then that's not our fault either. Why are you getting mad? Think about it this way. How many women did I approach as a man and get rejected over and over again until I realized that I'm the prize and just let women come to me instead of by working on myself? But ironically, when I realized this in high school on a subconscious level, I was angry and upset about the fact that the only reason girls were now talking to me was because of how I looked. Because I spent time in the gym and because I cared about what I was wearing. It was so petty that I guess deep down inside I resented women for wanting to be with me in my last 2 years of high school, while they didn't really give me the time of day in the first 2 years. It was like night and day. But once they started dating me, they realized I was socially awkward and stunted, and that appearances can be deceiving. I was trying to fake it till you make it, and that'll only get you so far in high school. What I also found interesting is that when I ignored the good-looking girls and instead chose to date the average-looking girls, people couldn't figure out why I was doing this and why I was basically dating below my so-called standards. I just gave my attention to women that I thought were nice on the inside as well. But looking back, even the women that were the nicest on the inside were still bad to me after a few months. Although now looking back, I did find it extremely difficult to find a girl to date back then that didn't have those same types of qualities visible almost immediately. Once I got in my 20s though, they got better at hiding their inadequacies from me. It was only after a year or two at that point where the true person would start shining through. And I was an idiot in love and usually decided to stick things out when I realized that they were playing games. They had specific needs or desires in the relationship that they wanted addressed, and they spent a year conditioning me to a certain set of behaviors in the relationship, and then suddenly everything was no longer cool, and I had to do a 180 and behave completely differently. It reminded me of that scene in Cloud City where Vader keeps altering the deal over and over again with regards to Lando Calrissian. You know it's going to be bad, but you pray that it's not too bad. Women are okay with men ignoring their desires to a point, and then all of a sudden it's like a gusher of never-ending demands. And usually that happens after the guy is completely emotionally enthralled by a woman, and only then does she actually show her true colors. As a man in a relationship, you think to yourself that you're not ignoring her needs, and you're giving her what she needs and wants, and then like Lando Calrissian, you've realized that the Empire has taken over Cloud City, and it's now time to leave. Otherwise you'll be force-choked by the dark side. And if I was smart back then, I would have just ignored what my ex-girlfriends wanted and said, well, if you didn't like me the way that I was, then why lure me in with love only to alter the terms of our relationship conditions down the road? That's what I should have just said and just cut off all communications with them and ignored them, and they probably would have come back begging for me not to leave. I didn't put my foot down soon enough and teach them who's boss by ignoring their demands. And instead I became a yes-dear mangina trained like a dancing monkey to serve drinks at a cocktail party wearing one of those silly red Shriners hats, while they kept yelling "Dance Monkey Dance" from their seats. I paid the price for not ignoring women's demands, more so than if I had just ignored them to begin with. But enough today about ignoring women. In the future I want to do a video about men going their own way with regards to hobbies. I want to talk about productive hobbies instead of just video game playing, painting miniatures, and playing sports. Men need hobbies that matter. You don't need to make any money at your hobby, but you still need to learn something new or enrich yourself as a person doing it. Think of all those men that started working on their computers in their garages back in the 70s that revolutionized the way that we communicate today. They gave away their ideas and inventions freely. And I want to start doing the same thing with regards to exploring the world of electronics, and more specifically robotics. One of my new dreams is to open up a restaurant filled with robot chefs and automated food carts to serve people their lunch, essentially changing the food industry. And I think that would be completely awesome. But first I want to get my own robot chef and actually start playing with it within the next couple of years. I think we need more hobbies for men going their own way. And with regards to new things that we can actually spend our money on, that make us fulfilled. I'm even thinking of going to Japan to do some research on robot restaurants that they already have running in that country. I think it's time that men basically started to experiment before this new age of automation and robots starts to change the world. What do you guys think about me getting involved in robotics as a hobby? And more importantly, what hobbies do you guys have out there that are productive and enriching? I want to hear back before I put together my video on male hobbies. So please share your comments down below. The last thing I want to say about ignoring women is that the more men do this, the more women will look for other outlets for attention. And that might mean more shopping therapy, visits to the health spa, or hanging out with their friends. Women will spend money so they don't have to feel lonely, and this will just juice up the economy. Anyways, thanks again Tim for your donation, and Larissa, thanks for your comments and suggestions. I know that secretly you want me to ignore all women except you, right? And as for everyone else out there, please follow me on Twitter or like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills. And remember, A red pill a day keeps the divorce lawyers away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.